Saudi Arabia, a kingdom of oil, opulence, and a royal family with enough wealth to rival the gods. At a jaw-dropping net worth of $1.4 trillion, the House of Saud doesn't just sit atop the financial ladder, they're the whole freaking building. It's a number so massive that even the British royal family, worth a mere fraction by comparison, could only gaze up in awe, and trust me, they aren't using a ladder. Now this all comes from one thing, black gold. That's right, oil. And not just any oil, we're talking about some of the biggest, most lucrative reserves on the planet, discovered a whopping 75 years ago. That was the game changer, the magic potion that turned the House of Saud from a ruling family into what can only be described as a global money-making machine, an empire built on the back of Saudi Aramco, the world's largest and most profitable state-owned oil company. If oil were money, then the royal family is that one person you know who never has to worry about their next paycheck. The dynasty, 15,000 members strong, lives like the cast of The Great Gatsby, except they're all in Saudi Arabia and wearing gold-trimmed everything. You name it, they have it, and then some. Speaking of gold, these royals don't just stop at mansions and jet-setting lifestyles. Oh no, they take it to the next level. I'm talking yachts so massive they have their own postal codes, private jets so fancy you'd think they're made of diamonds, and palaces that practically scream, "We are better than you." Everything, and I mean everything, is draped in luxury. I wouldn't be surprised if the tissue paper is made of actual gold. Oh wait, it is. Seriously, they don't do things in half measures. The top dog in this family? Well, it's King Salman bin Abdulaziz Al Saud. This guy's not just any king, he's the real deal. At a personal net worth of $18 billion, King Salman isn't exactly struggling to make ends meet. In fact, he's living the kind of lifestyle that most people can only dream of, or in some cases, only watch on the Discovery Channel. The royal family lives like they're in a different stratosphere of wealth. But hey, let's not forget about Prince Al-Walid bin Talal. This guy was once riding high with a net worth of $13.4 billion. But then, in 2017, he got arrested on corruption charges, which did a number on his wealth. I mean, when you're a prince and you get nabbed for corruption, it's not exactly a good look, right? But even with his fluctuating fortunes, the guy's still a major player. So what does a family with this much money do? Well, they live in homes that make palaces look like shacks. Take the AI Yamama Palace, for example. This thing was built in 1983 and sprawls across 4 million square feet of pure opulence. We're talking about a palace that isn't just a place to sleep, but a whole freaking kingdom within a kingdom. It's designed with Najdi architecture, which is a traditional style, but of course it's loaded with Italian marble and carved ceilings. It's a place where you don't just have a few rooms. No, this palace boasts 1,000 rooms, a movie theater, a bowling alley, because why wouldn't you want to bowl in your own home? Swimming pools, and even a mosque, you know, just in case they feel like squeezing in a little prayer between rounds of bowling. But hey, that's just one of the many palaces these guys own. AI Aja Palace is another prime example of Saudi architecture that serves as King Salman's personal retreat. It's a place where he hosts visiting dignitaries, and trust me, it's as grand as you can imagine. A historian once called it the perfect example of the style, and who are we to argue? But let's not get too lost in the grandeur of palaces. The House of Saud has a whole other side to their wealth, and that's their addiction to luxury art. This family doesn't just buy any old art. No, they drop cash on masterpieces that are worth more than most countries' annual GDPs. Take Salvator Mundi by Leonardo da Vinci. This thing set them back a cool $450 million. If that wasn't enough, they also splurged on Pablo Picasso's Les Femmes d'Alger for $160 million. And this isn't just a little hobby for them. Art is their thing, their way of flexing on the world, and flex they do. Now let's talk toys. And no, I don't mean Legos or action figures, I'm talking yachts and jets. This family doesn't fly commercial or even first class. They cruise the seas on yachts that look like floating palaces. Prince Mohammed bin Salman owns a super yacht that cost a staggering $400 million. What does it have? Oh, you know, just a seawater pool, 2 helipads, and a snow room, because regular rooms are too basic. This yacht isn't just a way to get from point A to point B, it's a floating fortress of luxury. But MBS isn't just about collecting art and properties. No, he's also making moves in the football world, eyeing clubs like Newcastle United after failing to secure Manchester United. Can you even imagine the Crown Prince owning an English football team? Fans are already worried, and the Premier League is under intense pressure pressure to block any sales to the man due to his dubious human rights record. A record that includes, well, ordering the assassination of journalist Jamal Khashoggi, but we'll get to that in a minute. Prince Abdulaziz has another yacht that can host 64 guests and includes a gym, a swimming pool, and all the amenities you'd expect from royalty. It's not just a yacht, it's a palace on water, and you better believe it's loaded with every luxury you can imagine. But it doesn't stop at yachts. The House of Saud also rolls deep with their car collection. Forget your average Ford Mustang or a Tesla Model S. No, these royals drive Lamborghinis, Rolls-Royce Phantoms, and yes, even a gold-plated Lamborghini Aventador SV. It's not just about having a car, it's about showing the world that they have a car worth more than your house. Okay, now that we've got the House of Saud covered, let's talk about the competition. Who's trying to keep up with these guys? Well, there's the Al Sabah family of Kuwait, with an estimated wealth of $360 billion. These guys have been in power since 1752, so they've had a few hundred years to amass their fortune. They're known for their investments in US stocks, which have paid off pretty well for them, but the Al Sabah family isn't the only one that can play in the Billionaires League. Next up, we have the House of Thani from Qatar, with an estimated net worth of $335 billion. These guys aren't exactly struggling either. They own some of the most iconic properties in the world, including the Shard in London and Harrods, not to mention stakes in companies like Volkswagen and British Airways. These families are the 1% of the 1%, and trust me, they're not here to just enjoy the view from the top. They've worked hard to get there, and let's be honest, they're not going anywhere anytime soon. So let's ask the big question. Can the House of Saud truly be dethroned? Can any other family, no matter how much money they have, actually surpass them in the wealth game? Honestly, probably not. The Saudi royal family is entrenched in their wealth and power in ways that other families simply can't match. Sure, the Al Sabah and House of Thani have their own fortunes, but they're not quite playing in the same league as the Saudis. The House of Saud doesn't just have money, they have influence, control, and a deep-rooted connection to the very lifeblood of the global economy. Oil. So when you think of the richest families in the world, don't just think about how much money they have. Think about how that money translates into power, luxury, and influence that goes beyond what most of us could ever dream of. And with that much wealth, why wouldn't you live like a king? Or in this case, a whole freaking dynasty? Here's the kicker. While the House of Saud is living it up in its palaces and collecting yachts like their Pokemon, the rest of the world is watching with mixed feelings. The kingdom spends billions on military equipment, and I mean billions. In fact, Saudi Arabia is the largest arms buyer in the Middle East, and they're not shy about it. In 2018 alone, they spent a staggering $67.6 billion buying weapons and fueling conflict. They're a major player in the Yemen war, a conflict that has plunged the country into chaos, starvation, and one of the worst humanitarian crises the world has seen in years. And to make matters worse, the Saudi-led coalition's airstrikes have killed tens of thousands of civilians, including children. The world shakes its head, but the Saudis keep on spending, seemingly without a care in the world. Meanwhile, back in Saudi Arabia, things aren't as peaceful as they seem. Underneath all the glitz and glamour, there's a battle for power playing out like something out of Game of Thrones. The royal family isn't just fighting over palaces and yachts, they're fighting for control. MBS in particular has had his fair share of family drama. In what can only be described as a real-life power grab, he's had some of his own relatives thrown into prison, including his cousins. And just like in the world of Westeros, family loyalty can go out the window real quick when the crown's at stake. Now, if you've been paying attention, you might remember that Khashoggi name from earlier. Yeah, that's the same Khashoggi who was killed in the Saudi consulate in Istanbul in 2018. At first, the Saudi government denied any involvement, but after months of denial, they had to come clean. The crown prince, however, claimed he had no knowledge of the killing, though reports, including one from the CIA, suggested otherwise. The US Senate even passed a resolution holding MBS responsible for the murder. But you know, being the richest guy in the world's wealthiest family has its perks. MBS keeps his grip on power, no matter how bloody the path might get. It's not just the Khashoggi killing that's got the world raising an eyebrow at Saudi Arabia. The family has a long history of, let's say, removing members who don't exactly fall in line. Princes like Sultan bin Turki, Turki bin Bandar, and Saud bin Saif have all mysteriously disappeared over the years, presumed to have been abducted by their own family due to their outspoken criticism of the monarchy. I mean, it's almost like they've got a little too much Game of Thrones going on behind those golden gates. So at the end of the day, what's the takeaway from this? thoughts. Is it really possible for anyone to look at the House of Saud and not think, that's a family that has it all? Sure, they have wealth, luxury, and power, but at what cost? The answer isn't so clear, and while they continue to build their empire, they leave a trail of destruction behind them. The wealth may be undeniable, but the price of that wealth? Well, that's a question worth asking. Until next time, maybe just think twice before buying that super yacht or football club. You never know what kind of drama you might be getting into. What are your thoughts? Let us know in the comments below.